joining us now. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel, who is in Jerusalem, and former deputy commander of U.S. European Command, retired Lieutenant General Steph Twitty. Welcome to both of you. Richard, well, first let me ask the general about the military action that just happened. This new strike the U.S. has just conducted against the Houthis. So far, they don't seem to be getting the message if this is meant to deter further actions.
Yeah, Andrew, good to be with you. You're correct. They're not getting the message. And when we conducted the first strike, when we had the coalition that conducted the strike with us, you know, one or two things could have happened. Number one, they could have received the message and put down their weapons. But this is what happened. They became emboldened. And so now what you're seeing is an emboldened Houthi force that's going after not just the commercial lanes, but they're trying to stand up to the superpower America and coalition partners such as the UK and others. And so we saw several chants in Sana'a and elsewhere in support of the Houthis. And I think they just emboldened, and they're going to continue to do this regardless of what we do. And so we just need to be prepared to go after the Houthis in a preemptive manner. And that's what you saw in these strikes here that occurred today with the U.S. striking these launchers.
Richard, there's so much going on in your region. Take it away. I was going to ask you about the Iranian missile attack. The U.S. and Israeli intelligence have concluded that Iran itself, the regime, is not ordering these attacks and is not looking for a bigger fight with the U.S. or Israel. But is that still the case? Because the U.S. at least thinks that this strike came from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard.
So there's a coalition that calls itself the Axis of Resistance. And I think it's a term that people should start being familiar with in the United States. It is a group of militant groups, all backed by Iran. They operate with a degree of autonomy. And the United States is at war right now with this Axis of Resistance. Most obviously in Gaza, because Hamas is part of that. The U.S. is trying to deter Hezbollah, which is also part of that. The Houthis are part of that same axis, as are militant groups in Iraq and in Syria. So you have a network of groups that sometimes coordinate, all backed by Iran, all armed by Iran, but have their degree of autonomy. And I think the general is absolutely right. The Houthis have made it clear they have no intention of backing down because we are now talking about them. They believe that they are on the side of justice. They believe that the United States, some European countries, others that are backing Israel are wrong, that they have the moral cause on their side, defending the people of Gaza, the Palestinians, because they say that these attacks are in the name of the Palestinians. So we are now just coming to terms with the fact that the United States is at war with adversaries who are in a number of countries. So it is immensely complex. But when you combine all of these groups together, and Hezbollah, which so far has kept mostly quiet, carrying out relatively low-level attacks against northern Israel, is by far the strongest party. So when we see the Houthis have the most strategic location for the United States perspective, right on the Red Sea, threatening shipping, sending cargo shipping rates skyrocketing around the world. But Hezbollah is a different game. It is the best armed non-governmental force in the world, and we have not seen that part of this axis of resistance enter into the conflict yet.
But General, how concerning is it that this time, at least this one missile attack in Erbil, came from Iran proper, not a proxy?
Well, it is concerning, but let me just play on something that Richard said to answer your question. People think this is still a local war. I will tell you, this has moved into a regional conflict now. If you think about the countries that are involved, you have Iran involved, you have Iraq involved, you have Syria involved, you have Lebanon involved, and of course you have Israel involved. and you have the United States and coalition partners involved. And so when we first started this journey, it was local between Hamas and Israel. And we are, in fact, in a regional conflict now. And how you deal with that as the U.S. and others to make sure that there's still space for Israel to do what they need to do to destroy Hamas, capture the hostages, and stop the missiles from raining down on them. That's going to take some time. And so how much this expands into total regional conflict, we just really have to watch out, because we're no doubt in a regional conflict. How it expands is what we need to be concerned about.